This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook. We are here at the greatest stadium ever built, or at least the greatest Oculus $1.1 billion screen. Can you imagine? Well, that's nothing like the guest that I have. James Dixon is the ultimate. He is the ultimate motivator. He has an incredible story, but more than importantly, he's utilizing his lessons to empower others, to change lives. He is the real Superman. Welcome to the Playbook.
Thank you, Dave. I'm honored just to be with you, brother. I love your energy. I love what you do. I love the impact you're making. I love how you're sharing wisdom and their humility, man. I love that, brother.
Let's talk about humility to start, because I don't think that naturally we're born with humility. I think that we have to have challenges. We have to have failures, voids, shortages, and obstacles. The dummy tax has to be paid in order to realize the strength and vulnerability and humility, because fear, it projects what I call ignorant arrogance. We know somewhere in our heart that we don't know what we don't know, but we pretend because we don't know and we're so scared that we know everything. And for you, were you in the realm of arrogance when you were young?
Big time. You know, I live with the idea that I was supposed to be tough because I grew up in the inner city. I live with the idea that I was supposed to, manhood was about joining a gang and stuff until guys turn and start jumping you, right? Beating you up. And you're like, wait. This whole arrogant thing doesn't work. Walking in who you were. But I was hiding behind being a tough guy because I'm an amputee. And the idea of being vulnerable or being disabled, I didn't want that label. So I tried to do all the wrong things in order to get attention. And you realize I don't need to try to win the approval of people who can't give me any acceptance or give me validation or give me a sense of purpose. No.
Yeah, and they not only steal our pride, but they steal our joy, right? When we're looking outside of us for something that we should be maturing and evolving inside of us, we're drained. And, you know, whether your disability is on the outside or the inside, it doesn't matter, right? We all have worthiness issues. We all have insecurities and fears. At what point, or was there a catalyst for you that you started to transition your perspective, your paradigm in life to, hey, man, I don't have to be afraid. I am not a victim. I'm protected and promoted.
Man, I wish I could say I picked it up early.
Me too.
But I was, I was 45.
I mean, really rich right now.
Man, well, I would have done so much different. But I was 45 when I even had, me sitting here in front of you in front of shorts is not by accident. I didn't have the courage to do this until 4 years ago.
Wow.
I was working at a factory. I spent my whole life lying to people, trying to pretend I wasn't an amputee because I was so rejected because of it. So many people, so many circles where people said no or used that. I had coaches say, if it wasn't for your leg, the athlete you could have been. I had a father who was like, man, I don't know how I could have made a cripple. I had a mother who slapped me in the face the moment I lost my leg, I was 11. And a nurse was telling me, James, you'll be able to do amazing things. And I had had 34 surgeries leading up to that, and I had never walked on my own. I never ran, never did all those things like other kids did. My mother walks in the room, sees me talking to the nurse, and says, please don't give him false hope. Don't make him believe he can do things he can't. And at that moment, I look back at the nurse. My mom grabs my face, pulls it back to her, and says, I'm your mother. Do you hear me? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, now tell me you understand that you're a cripple. You see, when all of that stuff is embedded, I broke and I said, yeah, I'm a cripple. And so I then, even though I tried to overcome it, I couldn't until I was 45. And that was only because there were other people around me who agreed to wear shorts with me. And even then, I still had the fear. I was like, if somebody says something negative to me, I'm fighting, you know? And I had other people that were with me that were like, so when I walked into work and all these coworkers were wearing shorts with me, man, I felt camaraderie. But then when I came off of mute, of being afraid, I became a voice to a whole different generation. I became all the hiding I was doing allowed me to perfect movements, gait, the way you walk, the way you move. And then by doing that, I was able to become an example for other amputees. People like, how are you able to drive? How are you able to move? How are you able to run that fast, jump? How do you lift so heavy and all those things? All of that happened when I let go of fear, because that's when I found my purpose.
And within the context of purpose, one of my favorite lessons is that you never will overachieve your own self-image. And in that idea, you're the epitome of it. You're the icon of it. But it's interesting that if we rely on others for our self-image, it even is exponentially more difficult to overachieve a self-image that's based off of others' image of us. And you had explained the other's image, but how have you been able to communicate that message other than by example? Because I've watched your YouTube, right? And there's much more than just seeing an amputee running and lifting and all that. There's inspirational messages that even if you weren't an amputee would extend and expand this infinite power that we've been given.
Well, you know, the best way I can answer that, Dave, is like watching you. One of the most impressive things I heard you say is that, how do you go back and tell people you lost $100 million and without fearing that you'll lose credibility, and that you found it was empowering, because what you lost, you never lost that knowledge, right? Yeah. So the money was gone, but the knowledge wasn't, to make the money again. And what I had gone through, what I developed was knowledge. And then how do I translate that? How do I transfer that? Being more than an example is learning to be a voice for other people and to encourage them. So it's whether I'm visiting the hospitals, I'm teaching other people, or I'm speaking on stage, and realizing that there is more to the story than the limb. I found that my purpose was bigger than that, and that my voice was bigger than that. And so 95% of my messages never include my leg, because I realized, like you said when we started, there's something internally. And how you see yourself, you can never outperform what you see in the mirror. You still see that cripple? You still see those limits? Are you waiting on someone else to validate you? My mom never came back and apologized. And so if I was sitting around waiting on her to say, I love you, I wasn't going to get it for that. You see, so I had to realize that I can't use anger as fuel. I had to find that image of myself and say, you know what, I'm going to just take these limits off, right? And I'm going to find love, not anger.
Self and external judgments are based off of an opinion. Whether it's the doctor that says it, your mom, the nurse, your best friends, the gang members, the politicians, it is literally an opinion based off of two things: ignorance, I don't know what I don't know, and doubt, which is fear, right? And it's interesting because I had a father more like your mother. My father never, from till the day he died, said he loved me. Never told me he was proud of me. Never told me he has my back. You can see, 55 years old.
It's still there.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Right? I go to therapy, think about the impact of wanting someone else's approval, validation, because they're your dad or you're their mom. And I think it's important to let people know that all of us, even the ones that have overcome so much and have huge self-images, that every day, minutes and moments happen in my life that I'm still that 9-year-old going, man, I wish my dad was proud of me.
I struggle with myself, brother, with, you see, when you start off, you called me Superman, but that was because my grandmother told me that I could be that, even though I'd never run, I never lifted, all those things. She was like, you just got to overcome your kryptonite. And so she didn't live long enough to see me do the things I do today. And so when I'm serving, the way I'm communicating with you, I'm transparent, I'm authentic, I give everything as I'm serving her as a thank you for what she instilled in me. You and I carry a big burden. We have to overcome our own personal limitations to help other people see that they can go beyond them. And then be authentic and real enough that we still carry stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, man, I love your heart. I love what you're doing, and I'm honored to be here with you.
And to that end, you wake up some mornings, and I know there's a story about when you got engaged, right? You still were in a position, you never even told your fiance that you were an amputee.
No, I couldn't do it. You see, it's easier I had gone through so many rejected moments that, like, first time I wanted to take a girl to prom. I practiced so hard, man, how I'm approach her. It was a dance, 8th grade dance, and when I first noticed her. And so we had a freshman dance. It was early in the year. And I walked across the room, and I did the thing where you lean against the wall, and then you walk back, you lean against the other wall. And I had a buddy, I tapped him, I was like, the last song, I'm going to go over to her and ask her to dance with me, or a song that I know I could slow dance to, or something that was easy. Yeah. And so I get over there, and I was like, hey, excuse me. And she's like, you the one with one leg? And I was like, no, who told you that? That's a lie. I wear a knee brace. So I discovered that you can tell that story, right? Just defended. I just defended that lie like crazy. So then when I first got engaged, and so I told her, I was like, hey, listen, because of my beliefs, I don't believe in premarital sex or taking your pants off or things like that, right? But I just didn't want her to know I was an amputee. So I waited until we were married, and I was, lights are off, and she hears this boom, 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 boom. She's like, what is that? And I was like, yeah, I lost my leg. And she's like, when did that happen? And I was like,
right after the wedding.
Yeah. Like, listen, are you shallow? I'm like, so I feel like, but I was so afraid of that rejection that I figured it's better to wait until afterwards and then reveal it, Too late now. Exactly. Yeah.
It's called back-end selling.
That's it.
You know what's so interesting, too, about Mita? You have a huge YouTube following. And one of the things, when you get up to millions of people that you don't know, that you're impacting. And that's what I love about social media. Right? It has, for me, I fight the ego side of it. It feels good when someone wants my picture or sign a book or recognizes me. But the real power of it is that I'm planting seeds places around the world. I'm in Italy and somebody says something. I'm in Bali, someone says something. And there's this story of, one of my favorites was in Bali. I was coming up to the resort with my bag, and the valet, he's giving me those looks, right? And you got to be careful when you're Just You famous, and I'll explain Just You famous. Just You famous is you go to a club, and the bouncer's like, just you.
Yeah.
What do you mean just him, right? I'm Just You famous. So this guy's giving me that look, but you got to be careful when you're Just You famous because you can misread it. Like I remember one time I'm walking in a hotel lobby, and this lady's like, oh my God, waving like this. And I'm like, hi. And, some guy's behind me,
Oh, wait.
Yeah. And I'm thinking my ego. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was sitting at an event, and they had mentioned something about some celebrities being there, and I'm looking around and stuff, and there was a guy near me, and who had played in a movie with Adam Sandler, and he happened to be tall, black, bald, and so. I'm just sitting by him, and anyway, I get up, and people are coming over and saying, well, I loved you in that movie. And I was like, yeah, that wasn't me, right? And I was like, it's actually that guy. And they said, oh, we loved him in Green Mile. I said, that's not that guy, So, but after a while, I just went in and started signing, yes, that's me. I took pictures, and I figured they'll figure it out when they Google it, But being you famous, right? The humbling part is that people recognize you, and then they tell you their story, and you have to make time for them. Just put on an event. I was in Atlanta speaking, and there were amputees that drove from St. Louis. There were people who came, caught a Amway train, and then caught a bus to get there, just so they can meet me and tell me how it impacted their lives. And I'm like, wow, how do you not take time to hear them out and to show them love,
And to have the appreciation of the size, scope, and scale of the impact that you have with, 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, that, my team, and I'm sure your team as well, they lose perspective, right? They're like, oh man, that video didn't do well. There's only 40,000 people watched it. And I'm thinking behind me, if we were doing this podcast, turned around this way with 40,000 people, our hearts would be like, and meanwhile, your team, because it's a video, they're disappointed. But 40,000 people are connecting with you, and you don't know what basement they're in. That's right. And you don't know, I remember Dennis Whaley said, Dave, I'm planting seeds, because I wasn't ready to learn what Dennis Whaley was teaching me, and I was young in my 20s, and he was in his 50s. And I said, I'm sorry, man, I'm not believing your bullshit. This is not going to be for me. And he said, oh, I know it's not for you today, David. He said, but I'm just planting a seed in a tree that I may never sit under. And I'm telling you, every time I watch my videos and I'm, running with my 4 kids and my wife and my life, and they're like, why are you doing a live, or why are you doing that video? I think to myself, because on a bad day, 40,000 people, someone's going to say, I don't believe this at all, but I planted a seed, right? Every negative comment, I think of myself, you know what? I just planted a seed.
Oh, they're about to turn. You're right, because ego can get involved. You're like, wow, that one did 941,000. That's good. Another one just broke 1 million. And then you look up and say, what do you mean it's got 7,000? Well, how in the world that should have hit? Did we release it at time? But then I realized I divorced myself from the results of that, right? Because I realized that doesn't define me. That's not my dopamine hit. I am not on social media looking for how many likes, how many views. I'm on there so I can impact, right? Yeah. And an impact can be, you can change that one person that has an influence sphere way bigger than that, Or
just one life. I'm sure you've had this happen as you're a speaker like myself, especially when we started speaking. I remember there was a mix-up, Seattle University and University of Washington, pouring down rain during midterms, and both schools thought it was at the other school. And so I ended up with like 3 people. And they asked me, do you still want to give the speech? And I was like, absolutely. And I poured into those 3 people as if it was 300,000, right? And the best part was, one of the kids who showed up on accident because of the screw up, they're like, I didn't even know what this was, but I needed a break from my midterm, right? And he got a calling. He was in tears at the end. And he said, I had no idea. He said, Mr. Meltzer, he said, I've been depressed, anxious. That's why I'm actually here. I couldn't study because I'm having real trouble. And what you taught me, he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, I want to go back and get into school. I was going to drop out. And I'm thinking, what? Like, God had to bring this kid to me.
Man, he put that set. That's why, I don't care how many people in the crowd. And I don't perform for the camera or anything like that. When I give it, man, I'm still an audience of one, right? It's that 11-year-old kid, that's that 9-year-old you were. We're still all performing for that and believing that God put me here for a reason. I am not going to do it. I'm not going to just go through the motions like, hey, guys, I'm going to cut it short since there's not people here. Because, I've had some of my best responses from messages I delivered with no one present because I recorded in the studio. Right? And they put it to a video, and next thing you know, here it is, and they're like 1 million people saw it. You never know the impact you can make, right? That's why you have to give it your all every time. And when you have speakers that are coming up and they're like, well, there was only 50 people there. Man, you have no idea what this is about. If you needed 1,000, if you couldn't perform in front of 50,000 would intimidate you.
Yeah, and it may not even be as worthwhile. Last question is about my favorite topic, and we haven't touched on it, the importance of gratitude. And I talk about, it's easy to be grateful for the past because you got time to process it. You have time to figure out, if I didn't lose everything, I would have lost my wife, I would have kept on drinking and doing bad things, and I probably would have been up dead. Therefore, I'm so grateful that I lost everything. That's easy. It's in the past. I got time. Right. But people like you, I'm well aware, and I've watched a lot of the content, there's this different gratitude that is of the future. There's a different gratitude now in your heart that sings to other people, that vibrates a frequency of what I call faith, gratitude of the future. You can't see it. You have no guarantee it's there, but you walk with a higher self that I'm grateful for a future that I know is bigger, brighter, and better, not just for me, for everyone that I liberate to shine the way that I've been liberated. For you, is there any advice that you can give from someone who has come so far to have gratitude of the future? Because people will tell you, it's easy for you to be grateful now. You're married, you're successful.
Yeah.
Right? I get that shit all the time. Easy for you to be grateful for the past. But my superpower and yours, and what makes you Superman in my heart, is I haven't met anyone that's more grateful for a future.
Man, thank you, brother. I can tell you this, what makes me grateful for the future is that, man, I have a hard time sleeping because I get so excited. It wasn't just about even like the moment to be with you. This is a milestone in my life, right? is because, every day I keep getting new firsts. Every day I keep getting new milestones. So I wake up with the idea of like, man. And so I'm like, I'm so thankful that I didn't give up in the past, that I get to have tomorrow. And then I get to learn from stuff. I get to experience stuff. It is, you have a book on connections that you put out with Warren Moon now. And it was like the icons that I grew up, the guys I played on video games, the people who are historical figures, man, you've walked with those. And now those people you've walked with, I got a chance to walk beside you. You see what that means? So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for who you are and the fact that you've allowed yourself. You grind like I do. You're speaking and you're traveling 10 days and the people are wondering, how do you balance all that? You don't, Yeah. If you see bags under our eyes and we're up, I see you up and you're positive, you're on the side of the bed and you're like, Dave Meltzer, I'm here though. You're like, I'm still here to serve. So my gratitude comes from the fact that gratitude creates a new altitude, man. It takes me higher. It allows me to live in the moment, embrace the opportunity, and really be like, man, I'm present. I don't have to reflect and wish I would have said something different. I'm telling you up front, this is a highlight in my life.
Thank you. James Dixon, Superman is for real, and he's right here with me, proving it, not with what's outside of him, but what's inside of him and how he's liberating others to find the greatness, the potential inside of themselves. What a great compliment it was. I will never forget. I'll have to go back and even watch it anytime I'm doubting the light, love, and lessons that I've been given, the omniscient, all-powerful source that we both belong to and that we have been blessed to give to others. If you're not inspired, I don't know what will inspire you. This man is incredible. James Dixon, thank you for joining me. This is David Meltzer here in Inglewood, California, the greatest stadium ever created with the greatest man I've met. Thank you so much. This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.